Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake, and this title, the title of this yacht stream, is not at all inflammatory. That's what we're going to talk about: corrupt Democrats. Ooh, you know why I'm so happy, in particular, about this? Possibly not for the same reasons I suspect y'all are. It's because I told them so. It's because I told a bunch of right wingers recently. Stand by. Maybe it's just slightly off today. Forgive me if there's a blurry camera. I told a bunch of right wingers recently something that I think seemed to have been a shock for them to hear, which is that lefties don't like Democrats all that much, truth be told. Um, when I think of groups that hate Democrats, I put leftists here and the most rabid MAGA folks down here. Then standard Republicans, then other Democrats, leftists, way more than the rest. I'm hoping with this title, once again, to attract some of those types. They're not going to stick around. They're not going to become regular viewers, and it wouldn't work if they did. Because this is the structure of this show, as you guys are now very familiar with. It relies on the fact that some of you are coming from the Power Report. Some of you will have seen the leftist mafia already. 100% of you will have seen the Majority Report or Midas Touch or some other such network that will have covered this stuff in detail. I rely on that. We cover the end result. Once you've seen these things, what can you do about it? But I want them, they on the right, I want them to toddle on over on occasion and see that it is so, that we are in fact, I want them to see how you feel about the things we're going to discuss tonight. Because believe it or not, I haven't entirely given up on working with these folks. I know it's got to be annoying to y'all, but I do so in the hopes that I'm going to make our collective work lessened. There are things we agree with libertarians on that might shock you. For example, for very different reasons, but for example, there were libertarians speaking out against the prisoner being executed in Missouri. Why? Because it is in the platform of the Libertarian Party to abolish the death penalty. We can argue, and in fact, I would suggest we should argue for our reasoning, but we don't need them to accept our reasoning in all things in order to accept the ends we're trying to achieve. And in that spirit, I say to you, I know when they show up in the chat, I know they're going to be obnoxious. They're going to be tiresome. Try your best to deal with it because we are inoculating whatever communities they came from against the impression that we behave with our politicians the way they behave with their politicians. My goal with this, and I tell you this to the people who are here early and are almost certainly from my crowd of folks I hang out with. I tell you this to prepare you for the rest of the show if they show up, which they may not. The goal with trying to attract them with such a title is because I find that they don't have a clear understanding of what we believe, and I suspect they don't believe the things they say. I suspect they utter nonsense. Well, they utter nonsense, and they do so. They feel comfortable doing so because they think we don't actually mean what we say. And tonight we're going to show them different because tonight there's a whole bunch of corrupt Democrats I want to talk about. Let me get started in my own backyard and with an apology. I talked about Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, how much I like her, what an honorable person I found her to be. I was wrong. I mean, I wasn't wrong about liking her. I did at the time. But she's acted corruptly, and I mean that quite literally. She has overstepped her power to put extra pressure on people protesting for peace in Palestine. As classic a scumbag move as you can do as a state's attorney general. As un American a thing as I can imagine. It's like the classic government villain move, the thing all lefties should despise. Students, students protesting for what are they protesting for? Some kind of a tax cut? Some kind of a no, for peace. Students protesting for an end to killing. And she indicts them. She chooses to get involved. She doesn't get involved in all the other protests about all the other things that happen on college campuses all the time. But these ones she does. Why? Well, they want brown people to live. How un-American. It gets worse. As you will have seen in 100 different places by now, if you are on the left, Rashida Tlaib, my representative, rightly spoke out against it. And she made the observation, which I feel ought to have been made, and I am so grateful to her for doing this. She made the observation that, oh, look, these protesters are treated differently. Why? Then CNN did something quite bigoted, which is they tried to make it seem as though Rashida Tlaib was being bigoted. They implied that she was commenting on Dana Nessel's religion. Tlaib was doing no such thing. And my attorney general further disgraced herself by running with the story. What can you do about it, my beloved wicked community? Nothing. This is my problem to solve. These are my people. Literally. These are the people I helped to put in power with my vote. And they are fighting entirely within themselves. One of them is right, the other is wrong. So, what has to be done is their constituent must voice their opinion. Here is a strongly worded letter to Rashida Tlaib. Wait, what? No, to Dana Nessel. Look, I never promised you a rose garden of intelligence here, but the intentions are there. Strongly worded letter to Dana Nessel. Here she is. This is to the Michigan Attorney General. And folks, every time in your state somebody does something you disagree with, Google their contact information and let them know. They are public servants. Underline servants. They are meant to serve you. Tell your servants how they should behave. Subject, Tlaib apology due. AG Nessel, please understand that this email is coming from a person who has advocated for you to be appointed as U.S. Attorney General. I've held you up as a person of decency, and I am gutted by your recent behavior. You chose to prosecute people who were protesting for peace. This is not only a perversion of justice, it undermines legitimate prosecutions your office can and must pursue relating to an attempted coup that took place in the U.S. and has yet to be dealt with. When my representative, Rashida Tlaib, rightly spoke out about your decision to treat the best Michiganders as though they were criminals, you lied to imply Rashida Tlaib was being bigoted. The irony is that your actions here were, in fact, quite bigoted. What truly breaks my heart is I would still prefer you to Merrick Garland as United States Attorney General. Despite your treatment of innocent protesters and your de facto support of genocide, I still think there is a worse person holding the office now. Please show the rest of the United States that a Michigander who's done wrong has the strength of character to apologize, so I can show them that Michiganders are willing to accept an apology. Drop the charges against the protesters. Clarify that Representative Tlaib was never talking about people's religion when she criticized your initial treatment of these protesters. Vow to be better going forward and mean it. The sincerity of the apology. Let me try that again. The sincerity of the apology will determine how quickly we can move on from this. And as you well know, there are real criminals to prosecute. Your constituent, Jake Dregelis. Sent. I meant every word. And let me also apologize again for saying she ought to be U.S. Attorney General. She shouldn't. I may revisit that opinion yet again if she apologizes. It would mean a lot, in fact, if she apologized. To show that she had the strength of character to become a better leader. But as of now, take that endorsement for whatever it was worth, toss it right in the trash. You cannot have somebody who plays games with people's lives. who arbitrarily imprisons college kids. Can't happen. I don't know if it's genuine ignorance. I can only hope that it was genuine ignorance that made her do that. But if that's the case, she's too ignorant to be the Michigan Attorney General, much less the US Attorney General. And if it was just callousness, you can't have somebody with that lack of character in a position of power, any position of power. And she should resign. But as I say, I'll choose to be an optimist and assume she was just pig ignorant. A disgrace. An utter disgrace. I am genuinely facing y'all in shame for her behavior. And I apologize for it in case she won't. I'll take some responsibility for putting the governor who put her in power into power. Moving on, let's say hello to the Wicked community. Wicked Foxy Dragon, you should send it every day until she does what you ask, what you can do. Good point. And I may start asking other Michiganders to get in on this because I have not been able to start a local campaign with this channel yet. Here's a great chance to try again. In fact, fuck it, we're doing it. Other Michiganders sound off. Let's all write Dana Nessel and demand an apology. We're not necessarily a charming people, but god damn, are we persistent. Michiganders, please write Dana Nessel. We're owed an apology for her behavior. Those students are owed an apology from her on our behalf. Let's make it happen. Ooh, wait a minute. Wait a second. Pinkerbell, we should. Am I getting the beginning of this? We should be focusing more on turning out non-voters over convincing people who still ride for Trump after all this time. However, it is necessary to live with those people, so having the conversation is important. Interpersonally, I mean, online is mostly useless. Yeah, I don't. I agree with you. I agree with you that we got to turn out non-voters. But at the same time, the people who are currently attempting a second coup are doing so with the support of constituents, as in, without the support of their constituents, they would be unable to do the things they're doing. This includes a lot of local officials, a county level a county commissioner, for example. These are the people who are attempting another coup. We need to wake the fuck up. Also, truth be told, I'm trying to end the Republican Party. I want it dead for all time. It has been a bane on the existence of the U.S. It has been a thorn in the side of democracy for my entire life. I have watched them sign consent decrees because they could not be trusted to post poll watchers. I have watched them gerrymander. I have watched them genuinely, sincerely rig elections and steal a presidential election. 2000. Watched it happen. The whole time, making the rich richer, letting Americans die in useless wars, made up wars, literally. Dog's tail wagged for it. I want them gone. I want that party to be an awful memory. I'm going for it. I'm going to find their voters. I'm going to attempt to get them to admit that they are just playing a game. They're just LARPing in politics. And then give them a serious leftist pitch. And I assume it won't work. But along the way, I'm hoping those undecided voters, i.e., those people who are glancing at this stuff once, maybe for 30 seconds in a month, will see the right 30 seconds, understand that Republicans are dangerous clowns, and do the right thing. That's my hope. We'll see. We got about 50 days. Bongo Dave, hello. Ooh. Oh no. I got a minus. Oh, but it balanced out. I got a plus. All right. Love, love, love the thumbnail, my friend. Good. Obsessive audio just catching up, beginning at 2 times speed. 1 second. Catching up at 2 times speed. Mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy. And a kid'll eat ivy too, wouldn't you? Took a long time to find those lyrics, is the issue. Wicked Foxy Dragon, the problem is that real Republicans have already jumped ship. The only ones left are MAGA, and no one is going to change their minds. I just disagree. I simply disagree with that last part. I'll put it back up. Yeah, 50 days, Christ. No one is going to change their minds. No one has changed their minds. But I have looked at the people trying, or at least claiming to try, and I found their efforts to be pathetic, frankly. Maybe you won't change the mind of the actual person you're talking to, and I expect that. Mostly because when people talk in a public forum, they get defensive. They're worried about pride. But it's the people listening to the conversation that I think can have their minds most readily changed. And I think it is possible in a public forum to change someone's mind, just less likely. But the concern is the people listening. And when thinking about the people listening, I put myself in the shoes of someone with polar opposite political beliefs as me, and I ask, would I be convinced by the arguments the lefty's making? And the answer is always no. No, because they're also just trying to win the argument, from what I've seen. Or they go so far in the other direction that they concede points that they don't actually mean. So basically, summing it up, I think I have personally been unsatisfied with the way I've seen lefties try to talk to these people. So I'm going to keep trying to talk to these people and talk real slow. I do think it's important, though, to acknowledge reality with these people. They don't believe the things they say they believe. They don't. So you have to not only find out, you have to not look for. Let me try this again. First, you have to look for the point in which they can see themselves how wrong they are, or at least where they are wrong. And then you have to discuss with them, okay, so you knew this from the beginning. For example, you knew from the beginning that Trump had, let's say they knew about the 60 court cases. Now, you know what? Let's use an actual example. I was talking to Ansu, ANSU, and Ansu, if you're there, I'd love to talk to you again. I'm gonna come at you a little bit here. I'm sorry you're not present to defend yourself. I'll just console you by saying well, not console you, but I'll just tell you, I sincerely believe what I'm about to say, and I'd repeat it to your face. And I give you that opportunity. You can come on anytime. I was talking to a guy who is a supporter of Modi, basically. Narendra Modi is a Indian leader who is basically like Trump, but he's a little smarter, so he's much more dangerous. And this guy says, "Oh, he's not evil. He's not evil, though." That's what we're debating. And in his defense of Modi, he says, "Well, everybody around the world is acting this way." So, right from the jump, he acknowledges that the way Modi is acting is bad. And other people, his justification for it is that other people around the world are also acting like, savage dictators, basically. So he knows. He doesn't think Modi is a good person. He knows Modi is a bad person. And that's where we have to start the conversation. So okay, Ansu, you know Modi is doing a villainous thing, and your justification for it is to say other people around the world are doing villainous things. And why can't India have its villain? Because he's a villain. And other people doing bad doesn't mean India should degrade itself as well. And now we must have the question, why do you want it to? What's the appeal for you? That's the real question we have to answer with these folks. What's the appeal to this? You know you're lying. And we'll get there eventually when we're talking to these folks. They know they're lying. Why? Because of the way they tell the lies, because of the way they prepare to defend the lies, because they all flock to these gish gavel nonsense techniques, because the way they go to whataboutism, they're not interested in the truth. They know they're lying, and they think we're lying, and they just think we're better at it. Hence, tonight, I'm talking about corrupt Democrats. Number one, Dana Nessel. Absolute villain these days. Face heel turn like I have not seen in politics for a good long time. I'm ashamed. And I got to take full credit for that one. She is in power because of me and a couple million other people like me. An embarrassment. Corrupt Democrat number two. This one's going to feel real good, gang. It's Eric Adams. Oh, boy. Latino Mafune, good to see you. Great timing. Wireless Mike, if I didn't say it already, hello, friend. Oh, we're talking Eric Adams. Mm. 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 So I thought Virginia breaking records. I'll get there. Oh, those are the Harris campaign. Here we go. Here we go. Eric Adams, you fucked up your bed. Eric Adams. Presenting. Sharing screen. Asking it again not to show me these tips. Clickety click. Okay. This is from Rebecca Falconer and Noah Bresner. Actually, before I get started with the thing proper, I should do the thing I meant to do from the beginning. Yeah, you're watching WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. Don't like the stream unless it's earned it. Don't share the stream unless you feel there is content here worth seeing for other folks. In other words, I looked at Mr. Beast suggestions for how to make a video popular. I've seen what other folks do. I acknowledge it. It's all fine. The algorithm works. It's a good algorithm in YouTube. I don't like that, some elements of it, but by and large, the algorithm works. The content must be good if it's going to be popular. Let's not make it artificial. I ask for that all the time in other things, and I appreciate you guys foxing around with me. But yeah, no, like it if it's good, share it if it's good, subscribe if you want it, become a member if you want to see me continue doing this stuff. And if you don't worry about it. I'm pitching. Only swing if you're feeling right. Lightning rod, my content is itchy. Ooh, yes. Club, IDF, Harper, Modi, Orban, Bolsonaro. Or as Dave Rubin would say, Bolsonaro. Okay, Eric Adams, real scumbag. Ole's been talking about him for like over a year. Roasted him on the Breakfast Club. We've talked about him taking bribes from the Turks, strangely enough. It's just not a country you think of as being one that F's with the US a lot, but they sure do bribe the mayor of New York. Well, mm, mm, chickens are roosting. NYC Mayor Eric Adams expects to face criminal charges. Mm, 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 mm. Oh my God. Just give me the. Oh, it's one of these articles. Damn it. All right. Well, a super bullet pointy article. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on federal charges, the New York Times first reported Wednesday. Adams said in a video addressed to New Yorkers that was shared with outlets, including Axios, "It's now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes, and if so, they'd be entirely false, based on lies." He said he intends to request an immediate trial and ruled out resigning. Uh-oh. Why it matters. It wasn't immediately clear what criminal charges the former NYPD captain faces, and the indictment reportedly remained sealed on Wednesday night. But Adams would be the first New York City mayor to face criminal charges while serving in office. Pause. Y'all know that's a big thing for me. I do not like the fact that we treat the presidency like a monarchy. I think you should be able to arrest the president if you are a beat cop with a warrant. I think you should be able to go to the White House, say, got this here, saw him doing a thing, recorded him doing it on my body cam. It was illegal. Went to a judge, got a warrant. I'm gonna go arrest that guy now. Oh, he's got a meeting with Iraq. Well, hope the vice president is prepped because I'm arresting him now. That should be how we operate. That is what a fair country would do. The Office of Legal Counsel in the Nixon era ruined it for us. Republicans, if you happen to be here, pay attention because you make it harder to arrest Democrats. Your corruption, the corruption you never call out, Republicans, makes it harder to arrest corrupt politicians, be they Democrat or Republican. Thankfully, thankfully, some lefties appear to be present in government somewhere because Eric Adams was called out. He's a Democrat, not a lefty, for the record. Uh, but Adams would be the first. Oh yes, so I'm saying that this is good. He's a major political figure being charged while serving in office. Let's just keep this trend going. I want to see governors charged while serving in office. I don't believe these motherfuckers aren't breaking the law. You would have a harder time convincing me that any given powerful politician is not breaking the law than you would convince me they are. The intrigue, Brendan McGuire of WilmerHale and a lawyer for Adams told the New York Times they had not been informed of the charges on Wednesday night. Well, they sure were informed later on when he gave that press conference. While the nature of the charges was not immediately clear, officials had been conducting count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 separate investigations in connection with Adams and high ranking members of his administration. Adams had been facing calls to resign over the probes, including from Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, a Democrat from New York, who said on X Wednesday before the indictment news broke that he should step down for the good of the city. I'm not sure if this was leftist mafia that mentioned it tonight or Power Report with Dan from the internet, but Um, there's a decent chance she got a tip off that was happening. And Eric Adams, rather hilariously, was saying, "How dare she say this? There's no way I'm going to get charged." And then he got charged. However, Adams said in his video address that he had been facing these lies for months, and yet the city has continued to improve. Irrelevant, by the way. He added, "You elected me to lead the city, and lead it I will." Well, we didn't elect you to thieve, Eric Adams. The big picture: the investigations emerged last November when the FBI searched the home of the mayor's then chief fundraiser, reportedly as part of a probe into whether Adams' election campaign had illegally conspired with Turkish groups to get foreign donations. This dude has been flying on Turkish Airlines for free, first class, wherever he wants to go, for free. We already know he's getting bribed. It's just interesting if one of those bribes specifically had to do with his election campaign. But it's a statement of fact that he was getting bribed. And if he wants to sue me for that, go ahead. Go on. I encourage it. There had been several other developments in the investigations this month. FBI agents had earlier raided the homes of two of Adams's top aides last week, including former New York City Police Commissioner Edward Caban's. ABC7 reported he resigned from his post a week later. Hey, right wingers, when you see Trump and all of his people getting shaken down like this, basically, note how much it resembles Eric Adams, a Democrat, mayor of New York. Does it look very similar? Well, that's probably because they were doing very similar things. That's what a corruption investigation looks like. It's a good thing. You should cheer for it. The Justice Department, the IRS, and New York City's Department of Investigations have also launched probes into potential corruption, but no criminal charges had been announced against the officials embroiled in the investigations into Adams and his inner circle. What they're saying: I always knew that if I stood my ground for New Yorkers, that I would be a target, and a target I became, Adams said in a statement to Axios via text message. Doesn't that sound Trumpy to you? That sounds awful Trumpy to me. If I am charged, I am innocent, and I will fight this with every ounce of my strength and spirit, says Adams, presumably. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York declined to comment on the matter. Doesn't that also sound like Jack Smith? Or rather, sound like Jack Smith doesn't sound? The silence echoes. Adams was elected mayor of New York City in November 2021 after, ironically, pitching himself as a moderate Democrat who opposed the defund the police movement while seeking to strike a balance between fighting crime and apparently committing it. And doing away with racist policing practices as mayor. Let's see how well that's happened. Recently in New York, somebody tried to skip a turnstile. Would have cost him because apparently he didn't have $2.98 on hand, and the police chose to shoot him and three other people over $3. That's the New York police. That's the priorities of them. The New York police terrorized the people in the subway, shot a man in the head, shot another cop, shot a guy who didn't even steal, just failed to pay $3, and one other poor bastard. That's the savages you have wearing badges in New York. And oh, by the way, Eric Adams came out on their side, of the savages. That's who he is. Adams has no legal obligation to resign, though Governor Kathy Hochul, good Lord, could remove him from office if he's charged with the crime. Hey, listen. There is no evidence that Kathy Hochul, I just want to be clear, there's no evidence that Kathy Hochul has committed any crimes. She's a Democrat. Republicans, listen to me as hard as you can. She's a Democrat, Kathy Hochul. There's no evidence that she's committed any sort of crime. Further, I don't think she's the sort of person who does illegal evil things. I think she is cowardly enough to only do, maybe even cowardly is the wrong word. She's too dumb, and she knows she's dumb to do illegal, evil things. I think she does only legal, evil things. But here's the thing. If I were to find out that she was arrested, it would make me very happy. Not, I'd want to look at the details. I would hope that there was actual evidence that she had done a crime. I would do the due diligence. But if we're just talking that moment, I open up a web page, I see a news feed, and boom, Kathy Hochul's right there in a picture getting handcuffed. It would make me very happy because I don't like Kathy Hochul. I don't think she's a good leader. I think by virtue of being a Democrat, she is a better human being than even a Republican voter, most likely. I might trust her, maybe not to pick up the kids, but to watch them for a moment while I ran into the bathroom, that sort of thing, because she's a Democrat, not a gross Republican. But it would please me to see her arrested. That's how little regard I have for Kathy Hochul. And I'm basically floating on a cloud with the knowledge that Eric Adams' ass got indicted. And if that surprises you, Republicans, consider that you might not have been given an accurate picture of who your political opposition is. And that maybe, just maybe, a lot of the people you hate are people we hate too. And I would encourage sort of the opposite of a hostage exchange. Imagine for a moment, we know a lot of our leaders did illegal stuff. And imagine we have the most annoying hostages, and we're like, if you kill yours, we'll take care of ours. But not kill. Like, go to prison. That's what I want. I want to see Trump in prison because I think he broke the law. Rudy Giuliani just lost his ability to practice law. He just lost his license to practice law because he has so blatantly lied in courtrooms. I want to see him go to prison too. But I'm not offering you nothing for that. I was very proud of the fact that you guys seem to support Santos getting charged. You get it. You can understand how this feels. It can feel good to clean house. To say this person doesn't represent me, and in fact, they let me down by being scum. And I'm here to tell you, we got plenty we're going to offer you too. Bob Menendez, there's our Santos. Outskis, charged. And he did it, by the way. He very clearly did it. That's an open and shut case. Eric Adams, mayor of New York. Get him. Go get him. He is as corrupt as they come. So is his police commissioner. So is the interim police commissioner. They are all getting indicted. Good. They deserve it. And by the way, a left-leaning attorney general, one of the few that exists in the United States, is not immune from this stuff either. She didn't break the law, but she did disappoint. And I will not blindly support her as she continues to disappoint. And Republicans, have a good, hard look at the people who claim to be speaking for you now. They are a disgrace. Are you? If not, you better stop supporting them. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. John Bailey, my day was busy and productive. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Wicked Foxy Dragon. They need an entire cleaning crew, though. I mean, that's the thing, is you're not wrong. I don't wanna be dishonest about the scale of the corruption. Look, Republicans are just more corrupt. They are. Republican voters accept more evil, I think, because, they think this is all a game, basically. They don't think anybody's telling the truth, and apparently Steam is open somewhere on my computer. Alright, they think this is a game, and, it isn't. So they've got, like, a generation of scumbag politicians to get rid of. But here's the thing, fine, we got an election coming up, plenty of opportunity to clear the whole playing field, and they get replaced, like, instantly. You think there's not one person in your area who can do a better job? Just don't be a criminal. You, if you're here in this chat and you care enough to hear what the if you're a Republican and you're in this chat and you care enough to hear what the other side has to say about a thing, even though you don't believe it, you're not planning on using the office to commit crimes, great news. You're more qualified than the people you hate. So go replace them. Jake, I don't know what the f is up with that, talking about Dana Nessel. Apparently, she accused someone of homophobing on her before. It's a little difficult with that because, some people actually did. Like, I was doing the news when she was, first, put into office, and, it's the same as with when any politician goes in, like, the most nightmarish stuff you could ever imagine was said about her, and some anti-Semitic things. I wasn't even sure she was Jewish. It was one of those things where it's so anti-Semitic, you imagine that the person just doesn't even realize what they're saying. But plenty of homophobic stuff. But also, she has a tendency to, I guess, overreact. Yeah, you can be a criminal too. Honestly, you could even be a con artist. Just don't use your office. Just don't use your office to con people. It's that simple, and you will be a better class of politician than we currently have. I did wanna disagree with this. Dino, Democrat in name only. Anti-corporatist, I think we're the dinos, truth be told. I think Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul, to me, represent the baseline of what a Democrat is. I don't have a very high opinion of the Democratic Party. I'm just glad that, we're losing our taste for it as a voting group. Um, but truth be told, if I'm just being blunt about my opinions here, that to me, I think of us as basically the dinos, and my nephew certainly considers me to be a dino. What is homophobing? It's either homophobing, in which case, things that sound similar, or somebody being homophobic. Oh, it's a verb now too, okay. Obsessive audio. I don't know how Long Island is still above water under all the political fuckery. Yeah, good lord. Those bottom left mofos are hard. Fair. Oh, anti-corporatist. I did not know you were a communist. I think that's cool as hell. Had a thought on that, by the by. I don't know what I am, but whatever I am, I'm not 100% of anything. The more I think about it, the more I think that the US is going through the capitalist version of what Russia went through in 91. Like, what's happening now is what happened to the Soviet Union. It's the very same thing. Our we blindly held on to our ideology without understanding it. Like, as a country saying, "Oh, but we're capitalist. We are capitalist democracy." We blindly held on to it without understanding it, which meant it was a purity test. Everything must be pure capitalist, otherwise it is against the motherland. Then oligarchs took over, and the country collapsed. The only thing that's been saving us has been our willingness to attempt socialism. But because the oligarchs are still in charge, they're the only ones that get socialism. Until COVID, and hold on to your butts, until Trump. Yeah. We just needed to do an injection of money, literally just money into the pockets of Americans. So we did. And it was great for about a month. Then it stopped. It went back to terrible again. It's this purity that is the problem. The purity of a political idea. I think, at least in the era we exist, we must agree that there is no one ideology that is perfectly set for running the whole country. I think capitalism for luxury, I think necessities, utter communism or socialism. I don't understand it well enough to even say. I don't think it needs to be understood perfectly. Necessity should not be something that people have the option to not have because that is death. And I think when it comes to whether or not we should put prisoners to death, the answer should be a resounding no. Left or right, that is not a power the state should have. That is just cruelty, frankly. Let me jump down to Brand for a moment. Y'all know it's me. Soviets were corrupt as it had zero to do with communism. I disagree. The oligarchs that we have right now, if and when the US collapses and we're looking at the pieces later, some well meaning person will say, well, the US was corrupt as it had nothing to do with capitalism. These things, I mean, look, I understand what you're saying. You're saying communism, when followed by yet that is not what the Soviets were doing. But what the Soviets were doing is the same thing we do with capitalism. They spew out propaganda that associates the means of dividing up the money in a country with the country's very identity. And the vast majority of people within that country don't understand it. And yet they allow drastic things to happen in the name of that system. And it leads to this. I think we should concern ourselves less with the label of the broad thing that's happening because some smart academic will come up with a label for what works after it's worked already, but not before. I think we should simply look at the cause and effect of the actions we've taken over the last 30 years, be honest about them, and make adjustments as necessary. And a big part of it is dealing with our corruption. We should all be sincerely and deeply concerned that Trump is not already in prison. He was allowed, even if he gets imprisoned immediately following the election, the fact that he was allowed to run again is a weakness that has been exposed in our country. We have to deal with it. The corruption, first and foremost. Good night, Foxy. I got all the bottom ones that come up from the top. I got all the bottom ones, but the ones that come up from the top is killing me, AC. I don't follow. Obsessive audio. Exactly, Jake. We're not actually capitalist either. Yeah. Yeah. There is a poisonous industry designed to sell us fake patriotism. And I'm sick of it. And truth be told, I've noticed something else. Lefties around the world get along. We don't agree with each other. We don't agree with each other in this room, including this one where I'm sitting by myself and this chat room. We don't. But we get along. It's the right wingers that are fighting each other all the time and us. We should use that to our advantage. The left and right wingers is going to hurt you to hear. The left is the only one with a plan for going forward. The left is the only group that exists that can do the next interesting thing. We're going to colonize Mars? We're going to build cities orbiting the Earth? Are we going to give free energy, free internet to the whole world? Do that one thing. We should have done it 30 years ago. We have the ability to do it right now, but we simply choose not to. What is it? What is it? Oh, yeah, feed everybody who's starving to death. The left are the only ones with a plan. So it's time for us to win. I'm going to get together with other Michiganders. We will perform for you, to the best of our ability, the act of annoying Dana Nessel because she's got it coming. I would like every last one of you to make sure you're registered to vote. As soon as early voting starts, go vote. I would like us to self-report our voting so we know this thing is won before Election Day is even here. Because we can take no risks whatsoever. Obsessive audio, me too. Also, I would love to have you on again at some point. But tonight, I'm going to bed. You should know going forward, it's only going to be late streams. Everything's fine, but I've got personal things in my life that simply require me sun up to sundown to be elsewhere. There is no choice. So from here on out, for the foreseeable future, it's going to be late streams. The upside is they are fun because I get significantly goofier. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake, and this is my good friend, Donald James X. Donald James X.